welcome to another episode of Expedition Marriage. I am Chris with my lovely bride Jamie, and we are so glad that you joined us for this episode. And we're going to be talking about something that is actually relevant to a lot of couples, and that's
if you're married, this has happened to you.
Yeah, if you're married, if you're not there yet, you'll get there, and we want you to stay out of it if possible, because we want you to get out of the marriage funk.
That's right.
Because marriages, they have seasons. There's ups and downs, right? And even healthy couples, they have arguments. Right? In fact, couples who don't argue, we would argue that they're not healthy. That there's resentment. There's things being held back. So we're really talking about that funk that couples will get into that we need to address and not just let it be.
And it's not necessarily like you're fighting a lot and it's negative and all that. Sometimes that funk is just like, it's that gloominess. It's that melancholy kind of feeling in your marriage where it's like, we're not fighting, we're not horrible, but you know what? It's just blah. It's just flatlined.
Yeah. It's where it gets into that mediocre. Like,
yes.
We settle for things just being
right.
Instead of for really something that glorifies God, something that honors Him, that's joy filled, that people look and go, oh, I want that.
Yeah, and sometimes these things happen because we are human beings. We have fluctuating hormones. We have life circumstances. We have different things we go through, and we just get those melancholy phases. We just get those down in the dumps kind of times, or we're just kind of exhausted maybe.
Sure.
And we can fall into these seasons in our marriage, but they can also come from like stress and burnout. They can come from having a lot of fatigue, and maybe you've had a season where you've been so busy and now we've hit the wall where we can no longer sustain that kind of rhythm in our marriage. Or it can be, you know what, we've become boring. Our marriage is kind of flatlined and it's just mundane. We're getting up, we're doing the same things, and we've done them so long that now we're kind of like just blah.
Yeah. It's just, I'm sorry. I'm laughing because we recently watched My Big Fat Greek Wedding. And it just, when you say that, it makes me think of the dad who's like the Ian Miller. He just toast. It's just no jam, no marmalade, just toast.
Yes, that is a great analogy because it is. It's like plain toast. And that is not what we want to have in our marriage, because it's that season when you don't have desire. You don't want to do anything. You don't want to go anywhere. You're not interested in sex. It's not necessarily bad, but it's definitely not thriving. And so that is what we want to call the marriage funk.
Yeah.
You're probably going to have one. You've probably had some. You might be in one. But if you are in one, or if one comes up down the road, we want to help you get out of the funk.
Yeah. Get out of the funk. Right. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
No, he can't. He really can't.
I can't. I really can't. But we talked in a couple episodes. I know. I'm trying to put us back on track.
I know.
We talked a couple episodes about that idea of being, if you're too task driven, right? It does put you into a habit, because we get good at what we practice, get you in a habit of being all task oriented and in the task mind, which is not relational.
Right.
And that will pull us against it. So I guess that kind of leads right into what we'd say as our first point, is to check your boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the first way to help you get out of that, the funk. And so we're going to give you a few things that you can do to actually pull you out of that. And checking your boundaries is a huge one.
Absolutely. Well, are you saying yes to too many things? Saying yes to too much overtime at work, or taking work home, and too much on emails or whatever at the house, where it's eating into the time. Are you saying yes to too many sports activities, or too many extracurriculars, or too many hobbies, or too many going out here or there? I mean, is it too much yes? Because as far as boundaries are concerned, every time we say yes to something, we're saying no to something else. And for those people who don't like saying no, well, you are every time you say yes to something. It is actually happening. And in fact, just because when we talk about boundaries, sometimes people are like, well, you all are coming up with these terms and all that. Well, no, God came up with boundaries.
Yeah.
God came up with boundaries. Genesis 1:9, God said, this is during the creation, let the waters under heavens be gathered together into one place, and let dry land appear. And it was so. Okay, so here we go. We got God
There's
separating.
boundaries in nature.
Here's boundaries. Yeah, we can
Mhm.
reflect. Here's where water is,
Mhm.
and here's where the land will be. Here's a separation. There's a separation of dark and of light. There's a
Mhm.
separation, and even in the Ten Commandments, the first two are about how we should have boundaries with God. Don't
Mhm.
have other gods. Don't make these images. Right? Here's rules or
Mhm.
boundaries to operate under.
Yeah, well, I even think about the day of Sabbath,
Mm,
having a Sabbath day.
mm-hmm.
Like we are made for rest.
Yes.
Rest is to be our launching point. And some of us get so caught up in just going, going, going. And I would think majority of us, we're not having Sabbaths. We're
Mm-mm.
not
No.
having Sabbath days where
No.
we're just resting and not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Our bodies need the boundary of rest.
Yeah.
We need the boundary of, you know what, I'm not going to be on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Can't be.
No,
We're
we
not made
can't.
for it.
No, and some of these boundaries, we could be lacking boundaries with one another. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
we begin tolerating behaviors
Sure.
or words
Yeah.
or different things that our spouse is doing. And that's gone on so long where now it's like, you know what? I've just kind of disconnected. I've gone beyond
Mm-hmm.
angry. I've gone beyond trying. And it's like, you know what? We're just going to flatline because I've lost my desire to even care.
Right.
You know, when you mentioned like work and schedule and things like that, but we can also have lack of boundaries with the kids. If we're not
Mm-hmm.
parenting as we should be, if we're not allowing our yes to be yes and our no to be no with our kids, we're going to get exhausted really quickly. And that's going to affect our marriage.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Spending letting the kids stay up later and not
Hmm.
well, the kids go to bed at the same time we do. Well, that's probably a boundary
Yeah.
might want to review.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, you know, for us recently, we had just come off social media for several months. And when we
Mm-hmm.
came off, we didn't say how long we were going to be gone. And the same
Mm-mm.
with our podcast. It all got put on hold because I needed to rest until I was done resting.
Yeah.
I needed that boundary. I deal with a lot of physical problems and a lot of health issues, and my body was taking a toll. And I love investing in you. I love teaching and we love helping couples, you know, through these platforms, but not at the expense of my own peace and of my
Mm-mm.
health.
No, absolutely.
So we shouldn't be paying our marriage, our mental health, our physical health, our emotional health should never be the price we pay for that lack of boundaries.
Yeah.
We have to have boundaries to protect those things because those things are what help us exist every day.
Right. Oh, yeah. If you're not good to yourself, how can you be good to other
Right,
people? If
right.
you don't have the resources, how can you offer them up to other people?
That's right. So, first thing to get out of the funk, check your boundaries. See where they're at. Am I lacking them? Am I allowing things that I'm really not okay with? Are they draining me and making me tired? Because
Yeah.
that will certainly flatline your marriage.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Let's talk about another one. Another way to get out of the funk is to reconsider some of our roles and responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Look, there's a lot of talk, and hopefully, if you are married, you had premarital counseling that at least discussed or went over some of these ideas of we have about roles and responsibilities in the home, out of the home,
Mm-hmm.
things that we learned from our parents that we just will innately repeat, or we realize, hey, don't want it to be like that. And so maybe you got into the marriage going, okay, here's how things are going to be. We're gonna step into things, and this is everybody's roles. But I guess we'll throw that out there. Nothing's set in stone. I mean, in your life, I'm going to go out on a limb and say God did not write in a stone tablet. This is what each of you are going to be responsible for,
Right.
and that's how it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And the challenge is we actually might start off in some of these rhythms for good reasons.
Right.
Right. So that maybe there's, okay, well, in this stage of life, you're going to do this because that makes more sense for you to do it. And I'm going to do this because it makes more sense for me to do it. And these rhythms we start to become ruts.
Right.
If they're no longer serving the same purpose as they served when we got into them in the first place. So now if I keep doing this, but it's not serving the same purpose because you need help in that, and I'm not stepping into that, well, I'm doing what we agreed on kind of thing. Well, we need to reconsider and reevaluate some of those things are they still meeting the needs,
Right.
or have the needs changed?
Right, because we change.
Yes.
Our life circumstances change, and
Mm-hmm.
what we needed before, what we need help with before, what makes sense for the running of the house before
Mm-hmm.
may not make sense now that we've added 4 kids to the to the scenario here. And so yeah, checking in with one another and what are the roles, what makes sense for us. And these are areas where, as far as like household management and things like that and different roles,
Mm-hmm.
it's what works for you as a couple.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
these are not
Yes.
there's not a list for what wives do. There's not a list for what husbands do. It's what works for you. And when we do pre-engagement or premarital counseling,
Mm-hmm.
that's part of it, is what are your expectations for the roles? What do you see yourself doing? What do you expect your spouse to do? And
Mm-hmm.
10 years later, those are going to be very different things. And that's okay. That's the design. We're supposed to grow and we're supposed to keep communicating with, you know what? I know I used to do this all the time, but this is exhausting me and my new work schedule
Yeah.
doesn't allow that. Can you please take over this task? And how do
Mm-hmm.
we divide things differently? But if you're doing extra work that is draining you when it makes much more sense for your spouse to be doing that task, or it's something you can ask for their help in, then you're gonna flatline out because you're gonna be exhausted and you're gonna get upset over that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I like that of what you're saying is even asking for help, because maybe it's a job that you did agree to, and maybe it
Mm-hmm.
is still makes sense for you to do it, but it doesn't mean that all the time you can just do it. Well, that's just my job, so I've got to
Right.
do it even and not ever ask for help or not ever
Mm-hmm.
need assistance. Well, no,
Yeah.
no, we're each other's best resource. Next to God, we're each other's best resource. And if we need help, we need to actually ask for help. We are
Mm-hmm.
to bear with each other's burdens, and
Mm-hmm.
we're not allowing our spouse to fulfill that if we're
Yeah.
not actually sharing that we have burdens.
Right. And so we can't get gridlocked in
Mm.
the division
Mm-hmm.
of chores and help around the house and things like that. We have to be flexible in that area
Yeah.
because our lives are ever changing. Our roles in life are changing. Being a mom of toddlers is very different than being a mom of teenagers,
Yep.
which is very different than being an empty nest mom when the kids are gone. And the
Absolutely.
same with fathers. It's the same thing. And just roles at work, they change and our stress loads change. We've got to be communicating. And it's not about keeping it fair. It's about creating a rhythm in our house that
That
works and that
functions.
doesn't steal from our marriage.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Well, let's talk about another aspect. So this is actually personally my favorite of dealing with an elephant in the room.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Okay, if you've been listening to us, then you know that was tongue in cheek. It's being a recovering people pleaser.
Mm-hmm.
Dealing with the elephant in the room was not. It's still not my favorite thing to do.
No.
And the thing that we would suggest for those who fall into that camp of allowing an elephant to stay in the room, the question is exactly how big can that elephant get before you need to deal with it?
Right.
Right? Is a 1 ton elephant okay to be in your
Yeah.
room, or do you have to wait till it's 5 tons? I mean, until it can no longer fit
Mm-hmm.
through the door and get it out. I mean, really, I say that just to kind of give that visual. It's because if there's an elephant in the room, the bigger it gets, the harder it is to see around it, to
Mm-hmm.
see each other, and the harder it is to deal with it later on.
That's right. And there's several different ways I think you can look at this, that elephant in the room. One is the one you're talking about a little bit, where it's denial. It's
Mm-hmm.
sweep this under the rug. I don't like conflict. I don't want to deal with this
Kick the
issue.
can down the road.
Yes. And so it's not dealing with it at all and acting like it's not there.
Yeah.
What are you laughing at?
I'm laughing at because look, a part of the denial, kicking the can down the road. I'm not necessarily what's the opposite of procrastination, of someone who is a procrastinator.
Oh my
I don't
goodness.
know. I tend to fall on whatever that is. I tend
You're
not to.
not an overachiever. I
Yeah,
can tell you
I
that.
don't fall towards away from
Mm-mm.
that. I fall closer towards the procrastination, and so it drives Jamie crazy
Mm.
when I might procrastinate on something, and then something happens where it doesn't have to be dealt with, or it kind of already got resolved, or
Where it
that's
works.
yeah, yeah, or it didn't have to. You're right. So that issue is no longer needing my attention, and because I procrastinated, I didn't get involved with it. And I'll say, procrastination wins.
Yeah, no, that is incredibly annoying. It's incredibly annoying because 90% of the time it doesn't work that way. You can't
it does not.
Because sometimes it's a win for you, but it's like you don't have to deal with it because I already did.
Yeah.
And so that's an issue too.
Or you had to deal with stress until it was resolved.
Yes.
It was like, okay, well, the issue resolved on its own, didn't need our intervention.
But I was stressed out the whole time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so this method does not work, sweeping it under the rug. But also sometimes that elephant is a problem that is repetitive and it's there and it's still a problem because you're not doing what it takes to resolve it.
Yeah.
If you're having parenting issues, it's like the kids keep doing this constantly. And it's like, well, I know we need to change this, but we're not. So sometimes the elephant is not doing the actual work that you already know needs to be done. And it's not dealing with the real problem either.
Right. And if you know that something needs to be addressed and you don't know how to do that, well, first off, share with each other. I'm not sure how to address this. I'm not sure how to deal with this. And it's okay not to know.
Yes.
It's the first time we've talked about this before. We have a lot of firsts in marriage. In fact, there's almost everything will be first once you get married, and you've never gone through that before, so you can't be expected to do that. But even then, once you start to talk with each other about that, and if both of you can't figure it out, well, then seek help. Right? Look for some books, advice, reach out to a coach, do something for somebody who might be able to help you get past that.
And we do this in every other area of our lives.
True.
We're installing an irrigation system on our own, which I don't know, we'll see about the regrets we have of that. It's still in progress.
It's still in progress.
But we're doing that, and every time we run into an issue, we're troubleshooting. We're sitting down, we're brainstorming, what if we try this, or should we move it over here? You're getting on YouTube, you're looking stuff up, you're asking people who know how to do this. If you go to work and there's problems with work, what do? You sit down and you have a brainstorming meeting.
Yeah.
How do we fix this problem? But when things come up in our marriage, all of a sudden it's like, oh, we can't deal with that. I don't know what to do.
Can't possibly ask somebody. I'm supposed to know. And that's and look, I'm wondering if that's you, I'm certainly not meaning for that to be down-putting, because you're not alone. There's a lot of people who will wait years for getting help because they think they're supposed to just know what to do.
Right. And that's just not the case.
No, don't do that to yourself. Don't waste years where you could quickly, when I say quickly, maybe months, resolve something that's been in your life.
Right. That's right. So the next one is not letting resentment build.
Yeah.
This one, I'm going to just cast that right over to you because that one's your baby.
that is my baby. If you are, because we talked about being passive spouses, and you are the ones who are most at risk of holding resentments. Now, I'm not saying that the other spouse who's not more passive doesn't, because unfortunately, when we let the elephant stay in the room,
I verbalize my resentment. I don't hold it.
Well, when we let that elephant stay in the room and we just keep going, oh, yes, dear, I'll take care of it. Oh, yes, dear, I'll take care of it. Oh, yes, dear, I'll take care of it. Well, that will build resentments. But the more passive ones will quietly build resentments.
Yeah.
We'll hold on to things and stew on them, and then they'll grow. And the problem with resentments, guys, is it's relationally crushing. It will crush the life and the breath out of your relationship. So you've got to address them. And one of the things that we have is, we call it the 24-48 rule. So if something's still bugging you after 24 hours, after a day, and it's still on your mind, address it, bring it up.
Before that 48th hour.
Yeah, before 48 hours. Don't let it go too long. Just like the elephant in the room, the longer you let it go, the harder it is to address. And it starts becoming a trust issue. Because if you let something go a couple weeks, then it's like, okay, well, how long have you been sitting on this? How long has this been bothering you? What else is bothering you that you're not telling me? And you know what? And you're telling me you're okay with this now, but how do I know that in 2 weeks from now, right? So if I'm addressing it within a couple days, then it's like, look, hey, I've had a chance to think about this. I've been realizing, is this something that I'm able to deal with?
This is really bothering me.
No, let me address this.
Right.
I'm not just like working it up, or because there's times where I've gotten all worked up about something, and it was really just kind of my issue and my deal. And I was okay. It took 20, 30 minutes and I was okay with it.
Right.
And it was actually a blessing that Jamie wasn't there for me to open my big mouth and stick my foot into it. Because you're right. Because after I got a chance to process, realize this is me. This is just my issue. And then I actually was able to tell Jamie, and it was funny because it was like how I got all worked up about the silliest of thing, and then realized it had nothing to do with her. It was all me. But if there's something that I've got that I need to address with her, it will become a wedge if I don't.
Yeah, and I think the tricky thing with resentment, especially for you kind of people pleasers, passive type of people, is a lot of you may not even be aware that you're harboring resentment.
No.
Because you're just shoving it down and shoving it down. And so you've got to become aware that every single time you're feeling upset, or, I mean, except for those things where it's like, okay, it's me, I'm sensitive, I need to let that go. Yeah. But when something is really bothering you and you're not saying it, you are building resentment.
Yeah, you're harboring it.
And so it's acknowledging and recognizing that that is exactly what's happening.
No, absolutely. We've had clients who once we start talking to them about resentments and they start understanding it, they come back maybe even not until the next session where they're like, I've been holding on to resentments.
Yeah.
I recognize that now in my life, and I see how it's been working against my relationship, against my marriage.
Yeah, and a clue to being somebody who does that is if and when, because what happens, you push it down, push it down, push it down, and then all of a sudden it all comes out.
Lava.
And when you do unload and you have a whole laundry list of all these things, chances are you've been carrying some resentment around.
Yeah.
That's the outcome of that.
That's true. If you can unload a list of things, you're probably holding resentments.
Yes. Yeah. Because I think that is what would happen with us. You would unload, and all of a sudden, all these things that have happened months ago, and I'm like, I had no idea that you were even upset about there. And that's that eroding trust that you were talking about.
And it's not fair too.
No, it's not. It's not. And it's not healthy. And it will cause you to both like kind of just check out and get in that funky place in your marriage where you don't want to be. And the last one, this is our favorite one.
This is definitely
If you want to get
one.
out of the marriage funk, my goodness, go have fun.
Have some fun.
Yes, you have to have more fun.
Yeah, at the simplest, it will remind you that you're still friends.
Yeah.
Right. At the basic, it will fill your joy bucket. Right. And the more that we have our joy bucket filled, which we've talked about in other episodes, but right. So then the more relational, the closer we feel with each other.
And the easier it is to deal with the stressors. And when you're having fun, when you have that joy bucket full, then elephants become little mice.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's the thing. It's like elephants don't feel like elephants anymore. They feel like I can handle this. And the brain chemistry you have going on contributes to that. There's scientific research that proves that it's when you're having more fun, when you have more joy, stress is much easier to deal with.
Absolutely. And you're a lot less easily shaken. Like you're saying, I love the elephants are in our mice, because where Paul talks about we strive forward, we have this love because love covers a multitude of sins. And so it's right, these multitudes, right? These they left their cup next to the sink instead of in the sink. Okay, well, it's not that big of a deal, where sometimes that could become a fight.
Oh, that can absolutely become a fight. Absolutely, it can become a fight. And so get out there and have more fun. And whatever this looks like for you as a couple, if you're athletic, go play some pickleball. That's all the rage right now. Go for a walk, sit on the porch, laugh, talk, go do things, play board games if that's what you do, have more date nights. Keep it simple. Enjoy each other in the simple things as well. Watch a comedy. But all of these things, we actually have a resource for you. It's something that can help you reconnect as a couple and pull yourselves out of that pit, out of that funk that you're in. And it's called the Restoring Connection course. It's a 4-week plan, so it takes a month to do it. You get short video teachings from us. You have discussion questions. Some of them are fun. We're teaching on a new concept every week of the 4 weeks. And we want to give you a code for that so you can get 20% off. It's a simple code. It's podcast20. We'll put the link in our show notes. You can go grab that. It is designed to help you reconnect and help you get out of the funk.
Yep.
So that course may be exactly what you need to get out of the funk so you can
enjoy the journey.